I want to start today's episodes with something honest. I finished the Ironman, as the majority of you guys know, back in August, I believe. And, it's supposed to feel as a high point, and of course, it does feel good after, but just for a while. Because for me, it was the beginning of something totally new. I mentioned here a couple times how I was having some pain, and which became sports hernia. So it's not the regular hernia, but we don't have to get into the details to that, but it's a hernia, and you have to treat almost like a hernia because every time you do something, you feel pain. I had that through my preparation to the Ironman, and on the day of the Ironman, I didn't feel as much. I was feeling pretty good about it, and everything was just as fine. But whenever I was done with it, after all the soreness went out of my body, it was time to get back to training, and that's when I still had the pain, and then that's when I had to look for some help. Something wasn't right, and I wasn't able to train anymore, and I just didn't know what to do with myself because that became such a big part of my life, and I had to go find help because I was about to go crazy. And trust me, now that I'm getting back to running, today was my longest run after my injury, which was only a mile. But having that injury forced me to confront how I see performance, how I see identity, how I see purpose. Not only in sports but in life as well. Like I said, during the Ironman, I was already injured. I had the hernia, but with the adrenaline and a little bit of ego as well, it kind of helped me throughout the whole process of getting ready and doing the Ironman. But like I said, after August, I wasn't able to do a full training, not to push as much as I wanted to. So I had to do only recovery, PT, and a lot of things that I wasn't enjoying as much. And mentally, that's when it hit, because for us as athletes, we are used to getting out there and getting it done, right? But sometimes when we are not able to do that because we're injured, then it becomes a mental battle. When the noise from your sport stop, you're left alone with your thoughts, and that's when you kind of have to win the mental battle first before you get back out there. And in a minute, I'll explain why this moment is actually the most dangerous part of an injury. It has nothing to do with your body. And I feel like people don't prepare athletes for this, because injury doesn't just take the movement away, it challenges who you truly are. How many players have we seen that after an injury, they're never the same? And it's more mentally than physically. And psychology call that the athletic identity. When your self-worth, it's tied to training, performance, or progress, and injury feels like you lost your identity. So in my head, I wasn't asking how do I heal. I was asking who am I right now. What can I do? If I can run, I can bike, I can swim, I can do anything, right? And if you ever felt lost during an injury, trust me, it's not that you are weak. It's just biology, it's psychology doing exactly what they do. But here's the twist, and this is important. The identity discomfort, it's not the problem. It's the invitation, and I'll explain in a second. When I got to PT, it stripped my ego, because when I got to PT, it was slightly humbling. I would like to believe that I'm a humble person, but when you go to a PT and you're doing the same exercises that a 7-year-old is doing, it is humbling. So I had to slow down. I had to relearn the basics. I had to reconnect with my body in ways that I had ignored for so many years. Things like this episode is sponsored by CaliforniaAvocadosDirect.com, delivering rich, creamy, hand-picked avocados straight from a family farm in Escondido, California, to your door. No middleman, no mass storage, just farm fresh quality you can taste and trust. Packed with healthy fats, potassium, and fiber, it's the kind of real fuel high performance need, whether you're grinding on the field or recovering from it. Use the code The Athletic School for 10% off of your first box at CaliforniaAvocadosDirect.com. Breathing, stability, control, awareness, the simple act of engaging my core, that's something that I wasn't very aware. And trust me, a lot of us, we do that without even thinking about it. But because I wasn't doing as much as I should, then I had to become aware of it. And that was humbling. Zen philosophy calls this the beginner's mind. When you approach things without an ego, without I should already know this. Most athletes resist that phase, and trust me, I did in a way as well. But what I realize in this is you don't rebuild confidence by proving how advanced you are. You rebuild by mastering the fundamentals. And I said this multiple times here, how Michael Jordan, whenever he was having a hard time playing, he would just go back to the basics, right? And that's how you become confident again. It's by mastering the simple things. And when I realized that, my approach to everything changed, not only just rehab and recovery. But to be honest, patience was one of the hardest things that I had because I'm not very patient. And I feel like if you're listening to the podcast, it's because you're wanted to get better as soon as possible. And that's why you're listening. So you're probably not very patient when it comes to that either. But, anyways, you can grind your way out of it. When it comes to injury, you cannot just work harder. And psychology shows that frustration spikes when the progress is slow, timelines are unclear, and effort doesn't equal reward. So having that feeling that like, man, I feel like I'm doing this thing for absolutely no reason. So if you feel like that, you have to reframe that, because reframing the way that I looked at those things saved me. I wasn't waiting. I was training my patience. I was training my mind. Every rehab session became practice for discipline, for trust, for emotional regulation. And I actually had a conversation with my PT instructor, and I asked him, like, do you like working with athletes more or with, older people more? And he was like, I really don't like working with athletes because they are not patient, because they don't stick to the plan. They want to rush, and because of that, a lot of the times you end up not working, they end up not recovering well. Well, on the other hand, when you're talking to an elder person, they have more time, they stick to the plan, and they get better. So sometimes, like I said, we have to have the beginner's mindset where we're relearning new things, and we have to be humble enough to be patient, stick to the plan, and don't worry about the time and how fast you're going to be back. Just focus on the present moment. As you guys know, I love Stoic philosophy, and one of the main things that the Stoic says is control what's in your control and let go of the rest. And I couldn't control how fast I was healing, the timeline for me to go back to running, and how good I felt day to day. But I could control my rehab effort. Okay, I have to go to the gym. I have to do these exercise. Um, Being aware of my core, making sure it's engaged, even though it's hard. I have to do a plank this way or that way for 30 seconds, and then I have to go a little further. You have to control those things. So my rehab effort, and then again, my mindset and how I use my time. how I spoke to myself as well. When your world shrinks, your focus must sharpen. And this shift didn't just reduce anxiety, it gave me structure to when everything felt uncertain. But there was one piece in that was still missing. And here's the most important thing. And here's the hard truth. If your sport, it's your only source of fulfillment, injury will feel like losing meaning. That happened before and I already knew, but being injured will force you to lean into other things. And that's actually an awesome opportunity for you to get to reading, learning new things, creating new things, thinking and connecting, not as distractions, but as an identity expansion. Psychology calls this identity diversification. Athletes who have more than one source of meaning recover better. You don't stop being an athlete when you're injured, but you're allowed to be more than one thing. Creating the athletic school has been a long journey. Reaching 100 episodes has taken consistency, grit, and a lot of passion. Having incredible guests share their story has been a true pleasure. But now, I want to ask you for your help. If you haven't already, please follow the show on whatever platform you're listening from. It really helps me a lot. And I promise you this, I'll continue to bring on the best guest speakers I can, and I'll do my very best to share content that helps you grow, not just as an athlete, but as a person on and off the field. I will study, I will read, and research relentlessly for ways to help you. And I'll share everything I learned right here. And that realization brought peace I wasn't expecting. Because now I had time to read more. I had time to learn more things, to create more podcasts, record new things, have more guests, and read more and share more and post more. So I was able to do way more because I was able to shift my mindset. And another mindset shift that you have to have is that injury, it's not a punishment, it's a feedback. My body was telling me something that I didn't want to hear earlier enough, which was slowing down, connecting, listening, and rebuild properly. Once I stopped asking why me and started asking, what is this teaching me? Everything changed. And now I've learned new things that will prevent a future injury. And suffering decreased, clarity increased. So if you're injured right now, hear this. You are not failing behind, you are not wasting time, you are not losing yourself. You're being asked to grow where performance never forced you to. Recovery isn't about getting back to who you were, it's about becoming someone more aware, more grounded, more complete. If this episode helped you, send it to someone who's injured right now. They'll probably need it more than they will admit. Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys next time.